rivals, welcome to Bax Attacks. Tonight I want to recap the Malice event, certainly one of the hottest events that Space Age Games has had with rival kingdoms. There was a lot of good, a lot of bad, and yes, some ugly that occurred through the event. So I'd like to give kind of perspectives on my experience with it, but as well as talk about how it looked like for other kingdoms. I was very fortunate to be able to participate with Bax Attacks in Hong Kong Baby. And the experience there was nothing short of intense. These guys were right around at the 13-15 mark the whole time in the leaderboard. They were going for that statue, and that was never really in doubt from the start. The expectations were really high in this one, both in terms of the soul count, in the time that you would spend, and in the necessity to spend some diamonds to get there. They didn't want to just get close to the line for the statue. They wanted to be so far out in front there was no chance of losing it. Overall, very intense, very disciplined group of guys, a mixture of English and Chinese folks. It was a lot of fun to do the event with them. They're the big dogs. I found it hard to keep up, but it was a pleasure to be with them for this event. Kingdom I got a good look at, as a number of Touch Arcadians went over there to join in, was Soulfire, led by Jake, Bonnie, and some other great leaders. And their motto here, fun, wars, and teamwork, is really accurate. It was just incredible to be able to fight along with these folks. A very strong kingdom. They really were intent and committed on getting Malice, and expected folks to both have fun with the event as well as to work hard and do their share of getting the souls needed to do that. They're very into the wars and the kingdom raids. They do very well with that. And just a great positive spirit, real sense of friendship and teamwork in there. Can't say enough good things about Soulfire. And the Touch Arcadians that were in there all really enjoyed that as well. The third kingdom that worked with Touch Arcadians, partnered up, was Fire Element, and that started when one of our players decided a little bit late to go after Malice, and he saw their King Rabbit recruiting for Fire Element, took a chance, and a couple other of Touch Arcadians went along with him, and they had a great time. Fire Element was one of those kingdoms that had a lot of people really wanting to get Malice, but several who weren't, and so they were reaching out for some extra help. British allies sent some really good players over as well, and so that worked out well. They got their statue close to midnight on the night before the event finished. But it was a good experience, a good team, and Rabbit in particular was a really good leader. So they appreciated that opportunity to work together. And our last kingdom that we partnered with was Mortality. We sent our really most active player there. Mortality did a great job. They crushed it in the event. They ended up around 13th or 15th place, somewhere in there, and they are a top 15, top 20 kingdom. So they got the statue. PK had a great time. He thought it was pretty chill, but then again, he hit 1,000 souls by the end of the event, so he was working hard for it as well. All in all, our 8 most active players from Touch Arcadians were able to find a kingdom to partner with and come away with Malice, and 2 of them got a statue. Well, that kind of summarized the feel, how it was like in different kingdoms. Let me shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the things that were good, that were bad, and that were ugly about the Malice event. First, on the good side, this really opened up a whole new world behind the scenes and highlighted what a great player community that rival kingdoms had. I was really fortunate to get invited into several line chats, and what I saw there just amazed me. There were lots of kingdom leaders looking not to get advantage over other people, but just trying to help each other, trying to find homes for good players who wanted to get the statue, and looking for ways to help their friends, help other kingdoms that they didn't even know to get the statue, to kind of shift players in and around after they got the Malice Ancient if they weren't interested in the statue. There were a lot of players helping out one another. So the camaraderie, the teamwork, the sense of pulling together under some pretty last-minute conditions was really good. And likewise, I've enjoyed the teamwork and the friendship within my own kingdoms, but what I didn't expect was to be welcomed so strongly and have my kingdom mates welcome so strongly and have a great time and a lot of fun fitting in with kingdoms that we had not known before. You kind of wonder going in there, gosh, they don't know us, are they going to kick us out right before we get Malice, that type of thing. But that really never was on the table. So really experienced some really good kingdoms, a lot of good players, and formed a number of new friendships from that. So I'm really thankful for that aspect of the event. That was really good. And just to give a tangible example, I've been talking with some folks from Bishes and Dragons, and as well as their feeder clan, Mount Olympia. And there was a friendly competition within Bishes and Dragons to kind of see who was able to get the most souls. They are a very strong kingdom. They're some of the big boys, and they got Malice, I think, on the third day of the event, and they saw that Mount Olympia needed some help if they were going to be able to get Malice or not. That was kind of on the bubble there, and so they had beforehand gathered some prize money for the person with their own souls, and instead they decided as a kingdom to take that and buy some gems for it and go over and help out with some strong players, some folks from the Mount Olympia kingdom. So that's just a cool example of kingdoms looking out for each other, for giving up personal gain to spend gems to help other people to get their statue. So that was just another example of one of the good things I was seeing in the game. Now, looking at some of the bad factors of the event, if you've spent any time on Global or on the Facebook group or in a number of kingdoms, this was a really difficult event for a number of kingdoms, not only in trying to compete for Malice or not, but difficult on the kingdom itself. A number of friends in other kingdoms reported they were at a war raid with another kingdom, and halfway through the raid, half the players left in order to try to go and find Malice right in the middle of the raid. There are reports, and I'm hearing them, pretty direct stories of kingdoms that were torn apart by it, of kingdoms where the leaders did shifty things at the end, swapping out players who had worked really hard to gain Malice and pulling in some of their other friends who didn't do anything, or mini accounts or that type of thing. So unfortunately, there was a lot of bad behavior as well in in how some of the kingdoms and players were operating. And others were doing, they were trying to jump into kingdoms, do nothing at the last minute, and get Malice as well, and that's just not fair. And it was challenging. A lot of folks were excited about the event. They were told that it would be easier to get than Isabeau Depe, and this was really a tough event for a lot of players. And Malice really is quite a strong ancient, so I know there's a lot of disappointment on that. I won't get too much into the ugly, but also there were other teams that were operating, let's just say in the gray area at least, doing a lot of kind of shady things to artificially increase their souls, and Space Ape is aware of that. They're investigating it, and if a kingdom was going to get a statue or Malice and did not because a kingdom in front of them was doing some of this behavior, they're going to reward those kingdoms that played honestly. So I think that's a good response to it anyway. But there definitely was an impact on the kingdoms, and in fact I want to talk about that for just a couple minutes. But first, let's address a couple of topics that are on everyone's mind. What was the cost to get Malice or to get the Malice statue in this event? Now, doing the math before the event, looking just at the number of lost souls needed and the battle stones that you naturally get by regeneration, and not counting anything else that you might find, there were estimates that it would take somewhere between 20 and 28 hours of time per day of playing to get Malice. In other words, it looked like there was no chance whatsoever to get Malice without spending some significant diamonds. In fact, my own estimate there was probably, if you weren't prepared to spend at least about 10-15 bucks in diamonds, you really didn't have a chance of getting Malice. In addition, your entire kingdom had to work hard at it. What turned out in practice, I was really surprised to find out, was something different. I know a number of players who, and including several or most of the Touch Arcadians, they didn't spend any money on the event and were able to get Malice, and they weren't free riding. They were just very active, and it turns out the number of battle stones and diamonds that you were getting from the chests, as well as the boosts, compensated pretty nicely for the fact that you needed a high soul count. So for one of the players in Touch Arcadians bought some, just a small amount, like $5-10 of gems, ready to spend them for the event, and ended up gaining 1,000 diamonds on the event because she kept hitting the 500 diamond chest in the arena. Now that's pretty lucky, but you do get some diamonds and some stones from that. And so if you were in a kingdom where it was a full kingdom, everyone was involved and pulling their weight, and you were very active, I can say from direct experience, you could have gotten Malice without spending a dime on the event. So that was actually a surprise and a very positive thing, and it didn't look like that way from doing the math simply before the event. So kind of, I thought that was a good thing. Now to get the statue, that was a different matter. The fight for the statue in the top 75 places was intense. The folks going into it knew that. They were willing to spend some on it, and I know a number of players were spending anywhere from 30, 50, $100 to get that on Backs Attacks in order to hang with the big boys in Hong Kong, baby. I didn't spend any cash, but I spent enough diamonds that would have cost about $30, I think, to purchase. And I was doing okay in the soul count. I had about 650, something along those lines, at the end. But there were others doing double or triple that were just having kind of a fun competition amongst themselves who could get more. So they enjoyed it. But if you wanted to be running with the big dogs and getting a statue, you had to be prepared to spend diamonds on that. That's kind of expected, but it wasn't that you had to spend $100 to get it. In a number of kingdoms, somewhere in the kind of 30-40 range was what it took to get a statue, as well as high activity. And for Malice itself, if you were in a good kingdom, most folks were spending very little diamonds. I know folks who spent nothing and were able to get that, and others were happy to get about $5-10 of diamonds to contribute toward that. So the cost really was not as bad as we first expected going into the event. It's actually disappointing that some folks who thought they had no chance without spending probably could have if they were in a kingdom that was all looking to put in the time required to get that. Alright, so how good is the Ancient itself? How good is Malice? Was this going to be an event where people had to work really hard to get the Ancient and then find out, like Isabeau, her spells really aren't that good. She's not that powerful in Ancient. Well, I think folks are seeing now that Malice is a very strong Ancient. Definitely the strongest dragon in the game. Beats out the other ones in a lot of categories except for Viscaria on health. And as an Ancient, I'm seeing a lot of replays that I'll be sharing in future videos of some really devastating attacks with Malice. Now fortunately they fixed the bug where her Lifesteal Breath was working on herself. That would have been ridiculously OP. And what I'm seeing in different events and from players is that those with a low-level Malice or with lower-level troops, say Stronghold 11 or 12, are not that impressed by her. They don't see how that's working. Their troops are dying. They can't control the spell towers, that type of thing. Those with high-level troops, Stronghold 14 or 15, and with a Malice that's level 40 or 50 or higher, those folks are seeing that Malice is extremely strong, and they're making great use of the third spell, in particular, the Masochism, to do a number on bases with that. So hopefully it won't end up that it's so overpowered that it needs to get nerfed. A lot of people are dumping tons of Primus into it, so there would be quite a reaction to that. But definitely this was an Ancient to get, unlike some of the other events. In terms of the future of events, I think that overall the impression that I'm getting that as I'm talking to different kingdoms is that overall the kingdoms who worked hard, who had the teamwork and were kind of tight, they had a great time with the event. They're all tired. We all need a day break afterwards. We don't want to see another base, but they enjoyed the event. They liked it. They thought that the time and diamond commitment was okay. You know, could have been a little lower, but they enjoyed that, and they think that the reward was worth it, and that seeing their team pull together and work for something as a whole instead of the individual tournaments, that was a big plus that I'm hearing from a lot of players. So that's a really good thing. And I think that bodes well for the future of Rival Kingdoms and for events. I think we're likely to see alternating teams and individual events. The team one was it's a lot more grueling. On the individual events, people can go at it for their own pace, but I'd be really surprised if we didn't see more team events in the future. And from Space Ace perspective, the kind of peer pressure for all folks to get on board and to go hard for the event, that's got to be a positive thing from their perspective as well. So the team aspect, I think, was a really fun part of the event, and I'm convinced we're going to see more of that in the future. All right, I know the video is getting a little bit on the long side here, but there's one more topic that I really need to cover in this video, and that is the the impact that Malice event had on the different kingdoms. What I found was that highly active kingdoms where everyone was on board and had the same goal, they found this to be a wonderful event. Frankly, it was designed for them. It was intense action. They loved it. They got their statue or Malice or what they were going for, a really positive experience for those kingdoms. There were others who were very strong kingdoms that had mostly active players, and it clarified there who was in, who was out. And so there was some, I would say, positive pruning that occurred in some of these kingdoms. They were able to get Malice and overall had a good time. There are two other types of kingdoms that had a tougher time with the event. There were kingdoms that wanted Malice but were unable to get it on their own or to get it with a number of their own players who weren't contributing. And they had some tough decisions to make. They had to remove some players temporarily. Otherwise, the other players who were working hard and going for it would simply not be able to get Malice. So, fortunately, many of the kingdoms were able to recruit folks from other kingdoms willing to help, especially on the last day. If they needed help and someone could just jump into the event for one day and get Malice, there was a lot of folks willing to do that. The toughest impact on the kingdoms was those who wanted Malice but had, frankly, no chance to get it on their own. And what happened there, if there were just a few good players in it, they pretty much bolted. There were cases of folks that just the one or two that needed to get Malice in their mind and didn't think their kingdom would get it. They left, and leaving the rest of the kingdom with no chance. In addition, kingdoms like Touch Arcadians, which were smaller in size with about 20-25 members, there was no chance to get Malice for us as a kingdom. And so what we ended up doing was we did have enough highly active and strong players who wanted to go for Malice, and so through some connections behind the scenes and some good networking, we were able to find good homes for them. I talked about that early in the video. But the result of that was, and I think this happened in a number of kingdoms too, this event clarified the big difference between players who are on every day, they want to war, they want to be in every raid, they want to participate in the kingdoms, and those who see it as a fun game, but they're going to play it when they have time. They're certainly not going to be on it every day. They may like the social aspect, they like talking to the guys, and without the war raids and with only individual events, those players are fine. It can be all one happy world there. But I'm seeing that events like this are the future of where Rival Kingdoms is going, and the necessity to do well in war raids to get the rings that you need is really making it tough for kingdoms with a real mixed activity level, highly active and highly inactive players. And unfortunately, that is where Touch Arcadians was at. And so as a result of this event, we've had a major reorganization. We found just an awesome fit in both team spirit and ability level and camaraderie with the good folks over at Soulfire. And so they made a offer at the end, said, hey, by the way, we're not looking to grab your players away, but if you folks do ever want to shift or find a new kingdom, we would definitely love to have you over here. And so we were able to talk about that, and the highly actives, those who got Malice, were able to find homes in Soulfire. We're very happy about that. The ones left in Touch Arcadians, there was some disappointment there. Got to be honest, and not quite sure of the future of that. If we'll have enough to be able to kind of rebuild, or if we'll just be a more kind of casual play as you want, get some requests once in a while type of clan, or how that's going to work out. So I'm not playing a victim mentality here. I'm not saying that the event destroyed our kingdom. I think other kingdoms would say that and had a much more unintentional splitting up of their kingdom. But in our case, the needs and the expectations of half the players did not match that of the other half. And for a kingdom to do well and to survive, they kind of all need to be on the same page. And so we've aligned with some folks where we are on the same page, looking forward to doing future events together. And based on what we saw in this event, we're also looking forward to working together with other kingdoms and to participating in that greater rival kingdom community that we now know is out there. So if you guys had good, bad, or ugly happen in your kingdoms, would love to hear about that. And thanks for watching.